We're here with Marvin Kuzawa, and we're doing an interview about his service in World War II for the Grand Valley State University History Project. I'm Jim Childress. Marv, I want to start at the beginning. You went through the experience that everybody else did who was alive at the time of hearing that we were going to war, of hearing about the invasion of Pearl Harbor. What were your thoughts when that first happened? What do you remember about the whole experience?
Well, I was working at my job at Porter Machinery when I first heard of it. And of course that was a shock to a lot of people. And I just wondered what will happen next. When will I be going in? Will I be drafted? But I was not going to wait to find out. I enlisted in the Navy, and they, for some reason, ended up in the Seabees.
So that wasn't something you purposely set out to do, to be in the Seabees?
Didn't.
What were you hoping to do?
Get in the regular Navy, because my brother was in the Navy, my oldest brother, and he was in the Navy long before the war, and he's ended up being in the Navy for over 20 years.
So when you first heard about it, that you already had a brother in the Navy, you knew he was going to be in harm's way. What was the mood? What were your emotions on that day when you first knew that we were going to war?
Well, I don't know exactly how I reacted, but I just wanted to be in the Navy, and I can't recall what feelings I had.
Sure. So you were at work when you heard.
Yes.
So the word must have spread throughout the shop. You remember how the people around you that you worked with reacted to the news?
Well, everybody was talking, and I can't recall what they said, but everybody was surprised and worried what would happen.
How about your friends and relatives? Did a lot of them go in right away? What was that like?
Well, let's see, I was the first one to enlist. There was 5 of us that, well, a couple got drafted, but there was 5 of us brothers all got into that service. And I was alongside my brother in the Navy. I was the next one to go in. And the other 3 ended up in the Army.
And what were their experiences? Did they all make it back alive? What did they go through?
They all came back safe. One was in France, and the other one was in Alaska, and one was in the States.
And then your older brother, where did he serve?
The one in the Navy,
Right.
well, he was all over. I can't say what countries, but being in the Navy for 20 years, he saw a lot.
Sure, I'm sure. So your parents had to go through having 5 sons all at once,
Yes.
off to war.
Right.
How did they feel? What was that like for them?
Well, my mother was a worrywart, and of course she worried a lot, and and my sisters were very supportive. I know they were praying for us and writing to us. They were very worried too.
Yeah. So when you think back on it today, 2015, looking back at what you and your brothers did, how do you feel about the experience, about the war, your memories of it, and so on? What are your thoughts?
What I experienced, or
Just how, I guess your overall feelings about World War II and what your brothers did and what you did. You're proud of it, I'm sure. How does it make you? What comes to your mind when you think about it?
well, all wars are just senseless. I knew we would settle it, but the cost wasn't what it was good to think about. I just want to be there and do my job.
So let's talk about how your enlistment went. How old were you? You were already working in the factory. So how old were you at this time?
I was 21 years old when I enlisted.
And how long had you been out and a working man?
Out of,
How long had you been in the workforce and out of school?
well, I graduated. You mean the year I graduated to the time I enlisted?
Right. You
Yeah.
graduated from high school, did you? Or
Yes, I graduated from Union High School in 1940, and I enlisted in 42.
and during that time you were working and learned the trade of being an electrician, right?
I was working in a woodworking shop, and that's about it. Then I went to the Porter Machinery just before the war, and I was a machine operator, a drill press that I started with.
So let's pick up with your enlistment. Where did you train, and what was that like? What were you right away trained to be a Seabee?
No, I went to Camp Perry in Virginia. That's where I did all my training. I was there till, well, I have the exact date.
Well, just roughly. How you were there 6 months, a year? How long did that last?
Well, it was probably 6 to 8 months before I transferred to California at Camp Wainimi. And that's where I was when they shipped me out to Kodiak Island.
And when was that about that you ended up in Kodiak Island?
The dates I can't remember.
How long had you been in the service? We know about when you went in. You trained for
Yeah.
6 months or so. How many months after you went in do you think you ended up at Kodiak Island?
I was in about 8 or 10 months before I went overseas.
Okay, good. Well, that gives us the information we need. What was it like, a guy from Grand Rapids, Michigan, landing in Kodiak, Alaska?
Well, I never expected, nobody expects where they're going. everything is kept secret until the day you move or sail. And I was surprised it was the Kodiak. It was a very hard experience to be going to a country or a state that has such terrific cold weather, and I never was used to that, but I got used to it in a hurry.
I bet. So you say you were a Seabee. For people who don't know what that means, what do the Seabees do?
They call it the Seabees because it was a construction battalion, and that ended up with having a picture of a Seabee, of a bee with a machine gun in his hand, and that became a motto, Seabee can do. We
But what did you actually do? Okay, so you're a construction battalion in Kodiak, Alaska. What sort of things did you build?
The first things we did was to build roads, of course, and build our living quarters, which was tents. We had to level the ground and prepare it for tents. We had our little coal stoves inside these tents. It was a hard job to do that work in the type of weather that they had. We were there for not 16 months, probably a year we were there.
So you built a lot of Quonset huts and
We
what else?
didn't build any Quonset huts there.
Okay.
We moved down the Aleutians and ended up on Kodiak Island. That island had nothing on it. No people, the only things on the island were fox.
Really? And now you're no longer in the Aleutian Islands, or is that still the Aleutian?
That's still the Aleutian Islands. Kodiak Island is one of the furthest most south. It's near Adak. But we built roads and we built an airstrip there. We did a lot of construction there. We were there for about 6 months.
So when you were in the Aleutians, did you experience the enemy soldiers at all, enemy military, or was it strictly behind?
Not in the Aleutians. I never experienced any enemy till I went to the South Pacific.
Okay, so let's talk about that. At some point, you left the Aleutians because you were through with whatever construction they
My
needed.
job was done
Okay.
in the Aleutians.
So, and I think you switched to a different unit.
I
You
was
mentioned.
transferred to another battalion, 14th Construction Battalion.
And was that hard? I mean, did you leave friends behind, or did you all transfer?
Yes, it was difficult to leave all these friends that I created. And
What are your memories of them? How, the guys you met when you were in the Aleutians?
we all got along well. It was complete teamwork. And I did have their addresses in a book. Had them sign the books that I was created, and so I could keep in touch.
And did you?
Yes, I did. But we kept in touch.
Where were they from? Were they from all over the country?
Yes, they were. From Texas, all the way from California to back to Michigan.
So what did you do in the Aleutians when you weren't actually doing the construction? In your free time, what did you do?
Where?
In the Aleutians?
In the Aleutians? Well, I learned how to play a chess game.
Yeah.
We had hobbies, wood carving and wood burning. Carve pictures on boxes we made.
Yeah. So was it a pretty bleak place, though? There wasn't much to do when you weren't at work?
I did go skiing on one hill in Kodiak, or in Kodiak Island. Then I sprained my ankle, so that I gave up skiing after that.
One and done, huh? So let's talk about the South Pacific. Where did you, when you transitioned to the South Pacific, where did you end up?
When we went to the South Pacific, we stopped at Marion Islands for a good day or two. Of course, my first experience on the way to South Pacific, I ended up in Honolulu, Hawaii. And there we spent 6 months to build Quonset huts for the servicemen.
So you were able to see the aftermath of Honolulu. You were there after Pearl
did.
Harbor.
Yes,
What sort of evidence of it did you see?
that would be 2 years after the war, after the attack on Pearl Harbor. I was able to see the damage done. But most of the debris on land was cleared up. After Honolulu, we sailed to the South Pacific further and ended up on Okinawa.
Now, at what point, Okinawa at that point, had it been invaded? Was it prior to the invasion?
That was 2 weeks after the invasion of the Marines and the Army.
And so the war effort had been very active in that area,
Yes.
very recent.
It was still going on, and
So that was 2 weeks after it started, but it was still ongoing.
yes,
What sort of action did you see? What was that like?
well, while we were working off the seashore, we were doing our building on a seashore, building docks. Zero plane came up and buzzed over us. I thought we were going to be shot up. And all of a sudden, one of our planes came and got after him, chased him up I don't know if he got him but he chased him off. We could see these Zeros diving into a target with their planes.
What's it like to really experience that in real time? How did you feel?
Well, I know it was scary, but we had our good knowledge to find a safe place.
You think that was the closest you came to being hurt when you were
Yes.
in the war?
That was my first and only experience of coming close to being hurt.
But you did a lot to help the effort by building docks and places for people to stay and runways.
Right.
How do you feel about that? I mean, did that make you pretty proud at the time? Were you happy to do it?
We saw a lot of work. We did a lot of work, and we ended up doing a lot of good for the good of the soldiers and sailors and Marines. We rescued one ship that went on the rocks. The ship ended up being stuck in the rocks, and all the personnel on the ship were looking for help to be taken off. So that's what we did. We worked on that. We got every one of them off. That was one of my good experiences of helping. But all the rest was work. Actually, physical work. Did a
So,
lot of dock work, unloading ships, building roads, building airfields, and building living quarters.
so how long were you in Okinawa during this phase of your service?
That was in May of 1945. Is when we landed on Okinawa, and I was there till November of 45.
Where were you when the when the bomb was dropped on Japan? Were you still there in that time frame?
Where was I when
Where were you stationed? You were in Okinawa when that happened, were you?
yes, I was stationed in Hawaii when Okinawa was invaded.
Okay, and then you were there about 2 weeks after the invasion. You were there throughout the fighting, and it sounds like you were also still there when the war drew to a close. Is that right?
When the war ended, yes, I was there.
So you were on Okinawa when the atomic bomb was dropped on Japan, correct?
Right,
And Okinawa is a fairly close island to Japan.
yes.
So what was that experience like? How did people react to the news?
Well, we didn't know they were going to bomb Japan. But when we heard about it, we were full of, everybody was just joyous to hear that. And we knew that was it. that they would surrender now. And they did practically the next day.
Were you planning on going to Japan? Did you think you were going to be part of the troops that would end up there?
I don't think the Seabees would have gone to Japan, but they are stationed around the islands of Japan. They still are stationed around the world.
When the bomb was dropped, nobody had ever heard of any weapon like that. What did you have much of a sense of just how powerful it was, and how did it make people feel?
I couldn't believe all the damage it did. And we were surprised that such a bomb existed. Yeah. But
How had Okinawa been, the Battle of Okinawa had ended by then, and the Americans and Allies were in control?
it was close to being secured.
What were some of the other experiences where you had a chance to observe the results of the fighting in Okinawa?
To see the fighting?
Yeah, I mean, was it near enough that you could hear it? Did you see people who had been on the front and came back and told you about it? What do you remember about that?
All I remember is we weren't right in the battle of it, so there's not much I can say about the fighting. It's just the work that we did, and that's all I could remember.
Did you interact at all with the civilians, with the people who live there?
Only a little bit. With the kids, the children, we would give them treats, and they would come back for more.
So they trusted you.
Yeah.
So how did the war end for you? You after the bomb was dropped, you knew that that was it, and that you would probably be going home. How long were you there before you actually went home?
I think the bomb was dropped in June, wasn't it? I'm not sure.
You think you're right, yes.
And we heard that we would be going home in a couple months, which would have been August, and it ended up to be so in November.
Okay. Yeah, I actually don't remember for sure when the bomb was dropped. I was thinking it was August. Does anybody else know? Yeah. But anyway, a couple months. Couple months after
Right.
the bomb was dropped and they surrendered, you went home.
Right.
What did you do in that short time between the end of the war and when you went home?
Well, did a lot of book reading.
Not much activity, not much construction.
Not much
or anything.
activity, no.
Yeah. So how did you get home?
We ended up coming home on a cruiser vessel named Topeka, USS Topeka. We ended up in Washington, state of Washington, and that's where we got off, and we secured our place to stay till we were transferred home on a train. And I ended up in Chicago, Illinois, at Great Lakes for my discharge.
How did it feel to come home? What were your emotions when you first saw Seattle coming into view?
Well, I was very happy when we landed on land in the U.S. I couldn't wait to get home. It was a long wait, it seemed, but I finally got there.
How did people treat you when you came home?
Full of joy to get home. I remember meeting my brother at the same discharged place in Chicago. I met my brother there.
Just
That
ran
was
into
in
him by coincidence?
I didn't know that he was being discharged, but he was there when I was there. And we came home on a train together. And that was awesome.
Were people surprised to see both of you together when you got home?
Yes. Yeah, I remember how happy everybody was.
So what was it like in Grand Rapids right after the war when you're home? Did you immediately leave the military at that point, or were you still in the service for a period of time?
No, I was done.
Yeah, okay.
I was done with the Seabees.
So in those months right after the war in Grand Rapids, what was life like? How did people react to you as a veteran?
Well, everybody was glad that we're home and the war was over. I'm sure everybody was happy for us and for the country.
Anybody do anything in particular for you to honor your service?
I don't recall anything.
Okay. So when you reflect on it and just big picture, your overall feelings at your age today about the experience of being in World War II, what would you want people to know about that?
Oh, well, I'm overwhelmed by the attention that I'm getting, but I'm thinking about the others that didn't come back and the others that did come back but were injured. They are the heroes. And I often wish I could do something for them. All I can say is thanks for your help.
Okay, thank you. It was an honor to hear your story and to hear what your experiences were like, and we're in your debt for sharing it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is Marv his service in the South. This is Marv with his close friend. Marv is the solution. You're the one from the correct. Here. This is outdoor movie theater in Okinawa. Picture of Marv the other shot from the Aleutian and in the top row, the second one from the right. Here's the front page newspaper, the original, when Marv and his over. The Hollywood Canteen, and I had the opportunity to be there for service and dance. Grateful. It's Hollywood, right? It was at the meeting. Training. Yeah, I got that one. The photo of Mars showing one of the damaged aircraft. Okinawa. Picture of the damaged American Okinawa. Yeah, that's
Of course.
shot of. What were you here, Marv?
and I
Oh, yeah, some sort. You guys too. Is all
son.
This is a group on Kodiak Island in the Aleutians. I know there aren't any much nearby. Because it was particular on the Aleutian.
My one walk
Here's one of the towns when they were off to salmon fishing was amazing according to our very plentiful example. A lot of like salmon. All salmon water. This is here's an example of the transport ship. South obviously just driven around Florida. Marv ship on the ground picture of it. That's in the background, Tom.
I think, yeah. But
Rescue. It's different. The dip around. So Marv, I guess just to get this on tape, tell me your name, and I also so your full name is what?
My what?
Your full name is
Okay. My full name is Marion Kuzawa. I had the nickname Marv as long as I remember. And I thank my mother for giving me the name Marion. And I found out when I enlisted in the Navy that my name was Marion. I, on my birth certificate, it was Marion, but they had me down as a girl. So
so you didn't know till you till you
I
looked at your
didn't
birth
know.
certificate and you were going in the
I
service.
never knew
Yeah.
it was on my birth certificate.
My uncle had the same experience when he went in for World War II. Okay, we're doing a recording here. It's for the Veterans History Project at Grand Valley State University, and we're going to put this on the internet. And I just want to make sure that you're comfortable with all the uses that they might put it to, even public access television, that sort of thing. You're comfortable with that?
Sure,
Okay.
that's
And-
fine.
And you pronounce your last name
Kuzawa.
Kuzawa. Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to start the interview part now. Okay.